We have to plan every minute, you know.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to go live as soon as I get to the music, I got so many pictures for this show. Just a second. There we go. Good evening and welcome to Travel Itch Radio. I'm Dan Schlossberg. Roger Noriega is not with us tonight, but this is our 600th anniversary special. We're in the 14th season of Travel Itch Radio, the show that lets you enjoy the pleasures of travel from the comfort of your armchair. It's the place where you can scratch anything that itches. Every week at this time, we talk to people representing destinations, hotels, airlines, cruise lines, railroads, car rental companies, and others in the world of travel and hospitality, from authors and bloggers to broadcasters and publicists. If it's got anything to do with travel, it's got everything to do with Travel Itch Radio. Our guests tonight, and we have 4 of them, are Sue Presby of the Mount Washington Cog Railway, Jay Smith of Sports Travel and Tours, Wendy Hasse Roberts of Santa Ana, California, and author Nick Contis. Welcome, guys, to Travel Itch Radio.
Hi, Dan.
Let's start with Jay, the owner-operator of Sports Travel and Tours, who's in Chicago making his way back from a big travel show called IPW. Welcome, Jay.
Thanks for having me, Dan. Congratulations on this major achievement. I think the 3 of us need to make a deal that if you get to 1,000 shows and we're still all around, that you have to invite us all back.
Oh, you got a deal. You got a deal.
All right.
Well, Jay, your company runs trips to every major sporting event, including the World Series, All-Star Game, Kentucky Derby, Indy 500, Super Bowl, and so many more. Coming up next month are the All-Star Game in Atlanta and Hall of Fame induction in Cooperstown. Do you ever feel like a juggler who has 20 balls in the air at the same time and is trying to catch them all?
That's an understatement. I think in this business and industry that we're in, the hospitality, to deliver fun for people, that's what you just have to do. But that's part of the fun. You know, we do smack our heads every now and then and say, now, why do I do this? And we wake up tomorrow with a smile on our face and we go about and doing it all over again. So yes, life is indeed a juggle, without a doubt.
Having been on your Hall of Fame induction weekend several times, Jay, I love the way you cut out all the hassle for passengers. You take care of transportation, accommodations, ticketing, and so much more. In your words, tell us how that works.
Well, we make it easy and hassle-free. We have a couple of different option packages. They're all pre-done, so people just need to make one phone call or click online and book their trip, and all their responsibility is just to show up. We take care of pretty much everything. So you come the first day you meet us at the hotel. There's airport transfers. And from that point forward, we have a welcome reception. We bring you into Cooperstown each day. We got a great opportunity with credentials to have you walk into the Hall of Fame into a separate side door back at the library entrance, so you don't have to deal with the crowds and waiting online. We pick you right up. We drop you right off at the Hall of Fame, and the road is closed, but we have access. We pick you right up, and then at the induction, we also bring you right to the induction site. If you tried to navigate it on your own, you'd have to park outside the area. You'd have to wait or walk and wait for shuttle buses. So we just, as you kind of mentioned, Dan, we just make it easy and hassle-free for people to come, maximize their time and effort while they're in Cooperstown to enjoy the town. It is Main Street, USA. If you've never been to Cooperstown, you don't even have to be a baseball fan. It's an absolute hidden gem in this country. Spectacular little place on Otsego Lake, just beautiful. And if you are a baseball fan, it's obviously that much better with the Baseball Hall of Fame being there as well.
The crowd from one of the inductions, It's going to be crazy this year because Ichiro Suzuki is the star of the class of 2025. Jay, do you anticipate the crowds could break the previous record of 85,700 for Cal Ripken Jr. and Tony Gwynn?
Well, with Ichiro being the first Japanese player, MLB player, to get inducted into the Hall of Fame, and he did have pretty much two careers, and he hit the Baseball Hall of Fame's numbers even at getting into MLB, later on in life, his second half of his career. So originally there was some thought that this might happen. I have spent this year, I've had 2 trips to Japan, working along and attempting to work along with Japanese operators. Unfortunately, what took place, the announcement of Ichiro was 2 days after the inauguration of our current administration in Washington. And at that point, with 100 executive orders in 24 hours and the craziness that we were starting to see, the Japanese like safety. And although we do have numerous Japanese fans that are coming, we did not hit nearly the expectations, not even close to what we were hoping for. So unfortunately, I will say Cal Ripken and Tony Gwynn, in my guesstimation, are going to be pretty darn safe for this foreseeable future. Maybe when Ohtani retires, that might be a different story.
I didn't even realize that. That's really amazing. Okay, please explain how individuals can tailor their own trips and have sports travel and tours put it together for them.
Yeah, we have a program. We call it FIT, and FIT in our world, we have pretty much coined it as flexible independent travel. So instead of having a packaged program like we do for the Hall of Fame, we can customize for any individual or family or 2 people or more who would like to go to any game or event, and they just need to make some decisions as to the type of hotel that they might like to stay, the type of game ticket. Do you want to be in the upper level? Would you like to be in the lower level? I'm in Chicago right at the moment, and somebody might call us up and say, we'd like to see the Bears play on Sunday, the Bulls are in town on Saturday, and the Blackhawks are playing Friday. What kind of trip do you have? And we can't offer every game and event for every single game out there. So we basically put it all together for the individual and put it out in a nice packet that all you need to do is follow along, and it's all taken care of for you in advance. So it's really a nice way to go. And if people need help, we're surely happy to give them a helping hand.
Well, baseball has some oddball games. For example, this year on August 2nd, we're going to have a major league game, the first game in the history of Tennessee at the Bristol Motor Speedway, Braves and Reds. Can people get a ticket through Sports Travel and Tours?
Yeah, we can surely. It's this program is not a pre-packaged program. We're keeping this as an independent and flexible independent program because we felt that people might want to come in early. They might want to stay late. They'd like to possibly have it customized in between. So we surely can accommodate folks if they're interested in going to that game. It's going to be a first, and it should be pretty interesting to see how it works.
Where are you based? How big is your staff? And how do you find your bus hosts?
Well, after COVID, I was fortunate enough to keep everybody on during COVID. It was actually pretty amazing. I was not willing to. We'd been together for an awful long time. My baby, in age-wise, or not age-wise, in longevity with us, is 13 years, and then everybody else is 15, 18, 20, 25. So I worked really hard to keep the 8 that I have now on board. They're still there, thankfully. And it's just, they are a joy. They are my backbone, and they give me the opportunity to get out and continue to drive our business. Our tour hosts primarily, actually, many of them, Dan, have come from travelers. They actually come on a trip. They love what they've done, and they call me afterwards and say, I'd love to get involved with this. How do I do that? And I have the same answer for every single person. I said, you have to only do 2 things. You need to be able to count to 50, because that's what primarily fits on a bus. And you need to be able to smile. And if you can do those things, we can teach you everything else. And most often, most people are very happy to, step through the door. We have them go on as an assistant to start off with, before we kind of kick them out of the nest. And then we have other people, kind of like yourself and other friends of family and networking, that do get involved. Sometimes if we need additional hosts, I'll reach out to colleagues of mine around the country and recruit them, either as owners. They might have some quiet time, or possibly some of their staff that might be interested in going on one of our programs. And that does come up from time to time too, depending on our needs.
You run baseball spring training trips and even cruises. How does that work? And where can people find your offerings?
Well, we have a website, of course. It's just like the name of the company. It's sportstravelandtours.com. As far as the spring training goes, that also, it's funny, Dan, most people who travel in the summer on what we call our baseball road trips, which are a series of like 4 to 12-day trips that get to different ballparks. We have a lot of people whose goal in life is to see every ballpark. Spring training is just reversed. People who go to spring training want to see their team. They don't care as much about the ballparks. So we do customize as well for spring training, the same flexible independent travel where people choose the style of hotel, whether it be a moderate mid-level service like a Hampton Inn, Hilton Garden Inn type program, a hotel, or a full service, Marriott, Hilton, Ritz-Carlton. And then depending on, again, really where they want to sit, dictates, pretty much how that program works. And then our cruises that you mentioned, yeah, we did try that a number of years ago. We're going to do it again. We had a European river cruise, and it was not sports related per se, but we did bring our friend Al Clark. He came along as a retired major league umpire, and we had a couple of sessions of Q&A, as we call it an umpside view, as to how baseball works from a different perspective of the umpire staff on the field. And we did indeed. We did. It was a great cruise. It was something a little different. A lot of people were past travelers of ours, and it was a little bit of a twist. Next time we do this, I'm trying to build in, if we can work it right, where we bring in either a soccer match, a European soccer football match along the way, depending on the city and the country that we end up, as a side excursion off the river cruise, to be able to choose as one of the side excursions would be then going to the football match. And that's coming up. That probably will come up the end of 2026. We are heading into actually our 30th anniversary, Dan. So we're looking to do a couple of specialty trips next year. I'm also going to be bringing a Cuba program back as well in 2026. So that's kind of exciting for us too.
You've already done a London series, right?
The London series we continue on as long as they continue. It's going to be expanding a little bit now. Around the globe, Major League Baseball is trying to expand itself. Probably will be picking up a few other countries over the next few years as well. Australia probably will, be a pretty good draw. So we're working on all of that as we move forward too. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
Jay, before we let you go, I want to mention that all 3 of our other guests tonight are baseball fans who would be wonderful hosts for you or passengers. So I'm recommending Sports Travel and Tours to all of our other guests and all of our viewers out there. And I've done it many times. I love it. I'm going to the Hall of Fame inductions to work with Jay again, and I can't wait. So Jay Smith, thank you so much for your time, and safe travels home.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Good luck, guys. Have fun.
Bye, Jay.
Bye.
Okay, and next up is Sue Presby, co-owner of the Mount Washington Cog Railway and former most valuable player of the Red Sox female fantasy camp. Hi, Sue. Welcome to Travel Itch.
Hi, Dan. Thanks for having me. This is so exciting.
This is your busy season, so thanks for making time for us. How are things going on the Cog?
Things, busy season really is just starting because school is just getting out. So vacation time is really just starting now. Although we've been very busy since we started going to the summit, which wasn't until the middle of May because the summit building is not open. We don't own the summit, we own property, but the state park is up there and their employees couldn't get up. But we've been partnering with the Mount Washington Observatory, which is one of the partners at the summit, and we've been doing a lot of school groups with them. So we've been incredibly busy with our tour business because the students will come, they'll take the train up, and then they'll have a guided tour of the weather station. So that's been really good. But we're starting to pick up. The weather hasn't been the best, as all of you know, in New England. It's just rained every single Saturday for the past, I think, 10 weekends. So we're starting to pick up. It's been a little slower than normal, but we're hoping that the season continues to grow.
I remember being up at the summit and seeing a T-shirt that said, "This spot has the worst weather in the United States." Is that still
That's true.
true?
That's true. It has the highest recorded wind speed from a man held whatever the word is, and I can't think of it right now. But
The
it was
height.
200, right? It was 231 miles an hour, which
Wow.
we still have some pretty significant winds, and we don't go to the summit. We will go part way if the winds hit over 70 miles an hour. Our train can withstand it, but we just, once you get to the summit, what are you going to do? You can't really get off the train.
Are you still running steam trains up the mountain?
Currently we're not. When we run all year round, but in the wintertime we do a lot of our maintenance on our engines because we don't need the whole fleet to run. So when we did the work on the engines, we saw that the boilers needed some work. So they still could go to the summit, but they would have been slower because there would have been less pressure. So it would have messed up our timing. Is with every train, everything is a timing aspect. So what we're doing is we're not running the steamers until the fall, and we're going to run our steamers to our new Wambeck station, which is approximately a third of the way up the mountain. So we will be doing our Wambeck trips with the steamers, but currently we're not running them. There's one
And
of our
here's a
steamers.
picture.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it. How long does the ride take, and is it faster going down than going up?
It depends. If it's the steamer, it is faster coming down than it is going up. With the steamer, it's about 5 miles an hour. I mean, sorry, it's about 4 miles an hour going up, and it's about 5 miles an hour coming down the mountain. The original mode of transportation was wood-fired steam, and then it was coal-fired steam. In 2008, we built our first biodiesel engine, which we built all of our engines and our coaches and do all of the work right at the cog. So with those, the uphill and downhill is the same, and it's 7 miles an hour. So it's everything is a timing. So that's why when we run the steamers and the biodiesel, we can only run the steamers the first train of the day and then the last train of the day, just because of the timing aspect.
Tell our viewers about your Cog Railway Museum at the base.
The Cog Rail Museum is it's an interactive museum. We have one of our employees, Rob McClay, who just passed away 2 years ago, was a master craftsman, and he built a wooden cog gear. And I'm not sure if everybody knows what a cog gear is, but it's a toothed, and think of it as a bicycle, like with a bicycle chain. It's the toothed gear. So that is what propels the train up and down the mountain. We have a wooden one of those so people can see how it goes into the center rack. We have a steam engine cab in there so you can see that. We have the Devil's Shingle, which when when the track was first built and they were working on it, they had basically, it was like a hand cart. So the guys would get on the cart when they were up at the summit, when they were done working, and they would come down the mountain on this hand cart. So we have one of those that's in there. We have some videos showing the weather at the summit, and just a lot of the history of the Cog Railway, talking about the different ownerships, the different how we've gone from the coal fire to the biodiesel. And now we're working on our newest, which is we're working on an electric engine. That's the newest thing that because we're always innovating. We're always trying to do exactly what Sylvester Marsh did, which was improve your ways to get to the summit of the mountain.
are you open in the winter? I mean, this picture indicates that you have been open in the winter.
Yep, we are. We open in the winter. We going until the middle of October or beginning of the end of October, I'm sorry. We go to the summit. But as I said, the summit building closes. So after that, the train runs to our Wambeck station and we have they're lean-to. So basically they're three-sided huts that are wooden huts and there are decks that are off of them. We have a fire pit there. And we also, and kids can roast marshmallows. We have marshmallows. There's coffee and hot chocolate that we have there. And we stop there for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. So you can get some great pictures. You look down into the valley. It's absolutely stunning. Actually, it's one of my favorite times of the year to be up there because you're more apt to have a clear day. You know how this time of the year you have not necessarily the fog, but it can be overcast and you don't get those crystal clear days like you get in the wintertime. So from about the beginning of November until the middle of May, we take that trip where we go to Wambeck Station. So we've been running the winter trains, I think, for about 5 years. Everything, once COVID hit, all the years running together with me. But we've been running the winter trains for about 5 years now.
Okay, so you've got to tell our viewers what happened to this locomotive. It looks like the front end collapsed.
No, that is how it's built. In order for the train to go up the mountain, the Mount Washington Cog Railway has the second steepest incline. It's 27% grade when you're at the steepest part of the track, which means the person sitting in the very front seat of the coach at the very front of the train is actually 12 feet higher than the person in the very last seat. So one of the things they have you do is stand up on the coach and try and stand up. It's like if you see ski jumpers, that's what exactly looks like. You're standing straight, but the way this coach is, it looks like you're leaning over. So it's really kind of cool. So in order for them to be able to make that such a huge incline, we have to have the boiler has to be tilted at that angle.
On a clear day, is it true people can see into 6 states from the summit?
That's absolutely true. And you can see into Canada. I've been at the summit on a clear day where I've been actually able to see the glint of the cruise ships that are in Portland Harbor. So it's amazing what you can see. And actually, when they've had the fires in Canada, you can smell the smoke when you're on the summit. I mean, I know that the fires out west, are they in Ottawa right now in Canada? Or is that where we've
Yeah.
had the smoke from that. We've had it at our house and we've been able to see it at the top of the mountain.
Well, if you're talking about Canada, then you have to add that you can see into 7 states, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And fortunately, I do have to say, because I just asked this question last week, whether or not, because Canada is obviously a huge market for us. We have a lot of the people from Quebec. Believe it or not, we have a lot of people from Toronto, which is about an 8-hour drive, but they will travel. So we've had a very significant, Canadian tourist market. And I think we've only had one tour that has actually canceled. And I don't know what the reason was, but we've been fortunate that we haven't had a huge drop in our Canadian market this year. So we'll cross our fingers it continues.
You got to tell us about the kids that stole the hand car and rode down the mountain in 3 minutes.
That was what? The kid that stole the hand. Oh, that was one of the brakemen from way back when they were building it.
It's an old
Um,
story, but a fun story.
It's a fun story. Yeah, they went down. It took 3 minutes to get the mountain. It's 6 miles round trip, so it's 3 miles. Where they went 3 miles in 6 minutes, and I believe it could up to 65 miles an hour. And this really is just a piece of wood with a handbrake. So, yeah, it's a little not for me. I am not the adventurous sort, so it's not something that I'm going to try.
Sounds a little dangerous.
Yeah, and more than a little sliding into second base.
Yeah. There are other cog railways and funiculars around North America and the world. How do they compare to the Mount Washington cog? And do you ever visit them to compare what they're doing with what you're doing?
Well, the coolest piece for me is that our cog is the very first in the world. Little bitty New Hampshire had the very first mountain climbing cog railway. The one that there are two that people have a tendency to think about. Mount Rigi in Switzerland, which Sylvester Marsh actually gave them our plans, and that was how Mount Rigi got built. People had a tendency to know more about Pikes Peak in Colorado as opposed to our mountain, and I think that's probably just because more people had a tendency to travel out west than coming to Little New Hampshire. But we've done a really good job of letting everybody know that there's a lot of stuff to do in New Hampshire. So Pikes Peak is our design also. Although I believe I was just talking to my husband about this, they're converting to diesel electric right now. So I know that they've gone through a huge um, reimagining and reworking of their road. I know they were closed down for a while, but they've since reopened. Wayne and I have actually been to Pikes. This was a few years ago, so this was before they had done the diesel electric. We have been to Switzerland, which has a lot of cog trains. We've been to Mount Rigi. We've been to Pilatus, and we've done that. The other thing that's interesting with some of the trains in Switzerland is they're partial cog trains. So they will actually, when you have a cog train, the center rack is really what propels the train, and the wheels are just riding on the rails. So there are trains in Switzerland that are a combination of both. If they're going up a steep incline, then it will use the cog gear, and then when they get into a flat portion, the cog gear isn't used, and it's using the rails. So that was interesting, but we've done both. We've been to Switzerland, done those, and we've done Pikes.
And how about Pittsburgh with the three funiculars there?
I've been to the actually Mount Washington in Pittsburgh. I've done that
Right.
funicular. And I've done the one in there's a funicular it's a different funicular. It's not by train, it's like a cable, like an elevator in Quebec at
Right.
the old Quebec by Frontenac. I've done that one also. Yep.
Okay, Sue, is there anything you'd like to ask? First of all, you got to tell us what your website is.
The website is www.thecog.com, and reservations are recommended. There is foot traffic, but we recommend reservations. Like I did mention that we build everything right at the cog. And Dan, you've been to the cog a few times. My dad was a machinist, so I've grown up around machine shops my entire life, and I that's like a second home to me. But I have to tell you that nothing impresses me more than the woodwork that is done on the coaches and the seats. It's beautiful. Right now, we are working on our latest diesel engine. We're working on a new one of those because we just keep adding people. Everybody keeps coming. We keep adding more people every year. And as I mentioned, we're working on an electric engine. So we just worked with the University of New Hampshire. We had interns last summer, and we have interns this summer that worked on, they built the design for an electric, basically the work car, so that if we have to go up the mountain. So we're working on that, and we're trying to figure out if it's feasible and if it's economically, the right thing to do to have an electric engine going on to the next part of our history.
That sounds great. Thanks to Sue Presby of the Mount Washington Cog Railway for joining the Travel Its 600th anniversary special. And now let's bring in travel journalist and author Nick Contis. Hey, Nick, how are the Giants doing?
Well, the Giants are 0-2 with Rafi or
We
Rafa, whichever
stole them.
way. I think we did. I want to. Well, we'll see about that. We have to be better.
Yeah.
Well, the Giants have not had a 30 home run guy since Barry Bonds in 2004.
Dan, don't remind me, please. I know it very well.
And now there are
Yeah.
rumors about Matt Chapman being traded to the Yankees, by the way.
I don't know. I hope you're kidding.
Actually, I'm not. But anyway,
All
let's
right.
go on. You're a native of Greece, but you grew up in San Francisco, which is why we're talking about the Giants. So you saw the world at an early age. Is that what inspired you to become a travel writer?
Well, some kids, they know what they're going to do with their lives. They go to college, they get a certain degree, and they go into that profession. I wasn't one of those. So I was 24, all my friends are working, and I told my parents, one last time to the Greek islands, one more summer. And when I come back, I will get what you want me to have, something called the desk job. And by getting a desk job, that means that you will work until you're 60, 65, whenever that time comes when someone gives you something called a pension. So I took a 2-month trip to the Greek islands, met a couple from Sweden. They asked me to go to India with them, and I told them, "You're out of your minds. There's no way I'm going to India. I need to go home and eventually get something called a job, a real job, not just selling beer and souvenirs at Candlestick Park and doing side jobs to get something what my parents think is meaningful." And I called my parents one day and I said, "I am not coming home right now. I'm going to India. We'll see where I end up." And 13 months later, I returned to San Francisco. And you think I'd be more employable. Travel's supposed to make you more employable, right? Well, I was still a knucklehead, not really more employable. But then somehow a light bulb went on. I purchased airline tickets in the likes of London, Bangkok, Athens, Sydney. At the time, there were bucket shops. You could buy airline tickets, paper tickets, in a local currency. And an idea came into my head. I just strung along a trip of buying tickets place to place as I traveled around the world. No one's really selling around the world airfares. And I was sort of the first. Tony Wheeler called me the Lonely Planet of Airfare. And Arthur Frommer said he'd use me to go around the world in 80 days. So I started a specialty travel agency, and that spawned my interest to get into the field of travel after a trip around the world. And then a natural progression was travel journalism, photography, back to my passion of being a traveler. So it's a odd world that somehow my only field of work has been in the field of travel.
How often do you travel, and where have you been this year, and where are you going next?
I live nowadays 6 months in Mexico on the Pacific side, uh, outside of a town called San Blas, 90 miles north of Puerto Vallarta. I live there mostly. Um, and back in California, where I'm coming from you live in the Napa Valley, I'm 2 to 3 months. And then I'm also 3 to 4 months traveling the world.
Wow.
And what I tend to normally do is I start slow. Dan, where I see you in New York every year for IMM is usually my first journey of the year, late January, going to New York. And then I do some conferences in Mexico, it seems like nowadays, at least the last few years. And then I'll get more into it. Like when May comes, I'll ramp up as the year goes by. And where I'm going next will be on July 5th. I will leave Puerto Vallarta for Malta, spend a few days in Malta, and from there, my wife and I will sail with Variety Cruises, wonderful company, Greek small ship sailors. We will sail from Valletta, Malta to through Sicily to Naples. So that'll be
Ooh.
something pretty epic, I think.
For somebody who does all this international travel, why is your book called Going Local?
Well, my book's about experiential travel. You have the first edition there. There's a new edition out now on Amazon. Um, it's all about traveling the right way. You know what I like to say? The tourist seeks familiarity. Maybe when that person travels, they stay at an all-inclusive resort. Maybe they seek out a McDonald's. They're not really traveling, are they? The traveler seeks experiential experiences. The traveler seeks learning from local people. The traveler seeks trying a new meal, trying a new cuisine. The traveler seeks going on the street where all the tourists don't go. And that's what my book's all about. How easy it is to travel. I remember I'll say this, Dan, when I was on my big stomp around the world, to call my parents, I had to, in Kathmandu, which was once a month, I had to go to a post office to get inside a phone booth to call my parents. Fast forward now to modern times. 5 years ago, I'm in Uluru in the center of Australia, and my wife goes, "What are you doing?" She calls me up. "What are you doing?" Honey, I'm on a camel ride. I don't believe you. You're not on a camel ride in Australia. Are there camels in Australia? Well, yes, there are, honey. FaceTime me. FaceTime you, okay. So
100
here in the middle
too.
of Uluru with a group of journalists, I FaceTimed my wife while we're on a camel ride. Well, how easy it is to travel nowadays. There's an app for everything. It's not that difficult to travel.
Wow.
With all the cruises you do, how do you pick them? And do you try for new ships and new places or go back to cruises you enjoyed before?
Well, I'll tell you something. Antarctica, if I'm invited back to Antarctica, I will jump. I'll even cancel things to go back to Antarctica. So there's one where I'm trying to get back to, but I try new things, yeah. And I like to sail on small ships. Expeditions are my thing. An expedition ship is no more than 200 people. I did Cork to Antarctica. I did Poseidon expeditions to Greenland and Svalbard. I can tell you a good story about that if you want to hear it.
Okay, quick.
Okay, real fast. I, my wife and I cover a rock concert in the Napa Valley called Bottle Rock. Okay, probably not a good idea during COVID to be in the front row with Metallica with 50,000 people screaming for Metallica. I flew to Svalbard the next day, finally got to Svalbard. The day of the sailing, the good ship doctors asked my wife and I to come and then have a conversation. We go, okay, you should give us our paperwork. We're fine. No, you two are not going on a cruise out of the most northernmost capital of planet Earth. You're not going to Greenland or Svalbard. Well, long story short, we flew back to Mexico and they felt sorry for us and they said, well, do you want to come back maybe for a 3-week sailing? You were going to sail a week. Would you like to come back in August for 3 weeks? And we said, yes, 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 and yes. And we flew back 2 months later, all fine, all good. But I guess we might be the only people to to be tested for COVID in Svalbard, along nearby, in the most northernmost capital in the world. So you never know. You never know.
Well, with you, Nick, I assume that Greek and English are easy languages, but how many languages do you speak?
I I can mingle in Spanish. You think I'd be better? But living in Mexico for 20 years with a Mexican American wife, I should be better. But I get by. I get by a little bit anyway, so pretty well.
And in your opinion, can a trip around the world change your life? And don't you have to worry about currency, cuisine, and customs in other countries?
Well, I mean, like I said, it's never been so easy to travel. Again, there's an app for every process of your journey. Buying the cheap airfare, finding a place to stay. You could share a meal. You could share a meal with meal sharing in someone's home. You could go to someone's house and they'll share a meal with you. There's a guide to meet you at your destination. Everything to me is just so much easier than when I did it with a Lonely Planet book under my arms and a map, and you had to ask directions. It's not that hard to travel. It can be done. And, you're seeing a lot of people traveling around the world now, a lot of digital nomads. You're seeing retirees now move to other countries. I always say that my book is good for best for maybe, I don't know, young travelers who are on their first journey, and maybe people who waited, maybe people who had kids, now they're baby boomers, and those guys now didn't travel when they were young, perhaps. But now they can still travel. It's still possible for them to travel. I think it's wonderful.
Any new books in the works?
Um, Not right now with one just out, but I think I'll just keep probably working on this concept and finding new ways to change the book and enhance it.
Nick, your work has won a few awards. Can you share some of them?
Well, I've won a couple of writing awards with NACHA, and I've got some other things going on with SATW. So yeah, a few things here and there. It's always nice to be recognized by your peers.
For our viewers, NACHA is North American Travel Journalists Association. SATW is Society for American Travel Writers.
Yes.
Both very good, prestigious groups. And Nick is in
Yes.
both.
Yep.
Before we go, how do we find out more information about what you're up to and your writing? Where do we find your writing?
Well, you can search me on You can see me on USA Today, World Traveler, Lex Beat Magazine, World Footprints. Those are a few of the publications that online publications that I'm in. You know, everything's online nowadays. Not too much is in print. World Traveler magazine is in print, but mostly, again, it's mostly online. And I have, for what it's worth, for an old guy, I have 20,000 plus Instagram followers at Trip Rambler Nick.
Wow, that's great. Is there anything I haven't asked you you'd like to add, Nick?
Well, I'll say it again. Travel changed us like nothing else. And I hope through my book, I'm thrilled, I'm ecstatic if I can get even a few people off the travel channel, off the couch, and out into the real world. And I want to showcase that travel is possible. It's not daunting. Anyone can do it.
Okay, we've been talking with Nick Contis, great friend, great travel writer, and a great author. And last but not least, and thank you for being with us the whole time, Wendy, is Wendy Hasse Roberts of Santa Ana, California. You're actually the president of the Chamber of Commerce, is that right?
No, president of Travel Santa Ana, the destination marketing organization.
Oh, okay. I got it. I knew you're president of something, so okay. Anyway, when people think of California, they usually think LA, San Francisco, San Diego. So tell us why they're making a mistake to overlook Santa Ana.
Well, hopefully people are also thinking of Orange County when they hear California, which is where Santa Ana is centrally located. And I'm sure visitors may be familiar with Anaheim for Disneyland and Huntington Beach for surfing and the iconic pier, but Santa Ana is really unlike anywhere else in the county. Our city is culturally rich. Our population is over 78% Hispanic, and that diversity is reflective in our history and our arts and our culinary. And it's really easy for visitors to get to Santa Ana. We have a passenger-friendly John Wayne Airport, Amtrak, and major highways. So there's really no reason that they shouldn't make Santa Ana part of their Southern California visit.
And the pictures are just beautiful from Santa Ana. For example, historic downtown.
Yeah,
Oh, that's one. Historic homes.
we have over 100 homes on the National Registry.
Wow. And here's my cell phone ringing. I'm not answering it. Sorry about that. You'll hear Edit Jane for a couple of seconds. Okay. I don't even know where it is. Oh, there it is. I'm going to get rid of it. Okay. Just a doctor calling to confirm an appointment that I made a long time ago. Okay. My co-host Roger Noriega lives in the Inland Empire, but knows that Southern California has a fantastic historic legacy. Since Santa Ana is part of that, please tell us a little about your local history.
Sure. Our roots date back to the early settlements of the Chumash people. And then the Spanish discovered Santa Ana in the 1700s, and it was a farm town when William H. Spurgeon came into the picture. He purchased 70 acres of our farmland in around 1869 with plans of developing and becoming the city's founder. And through his lifetime, Spurgeon devoted himself to growing Santa Ana into a Southern California hub for banking, business, and transportation. He was an integral part in incorporating the city in 1886, and he brought the first railroad to Santa Ana, Southern Pacific Railroad. So that really was what drove the major boom across the city in Orange County. Santa Ana was named the county seat in 1889, and it's really come a long way. I'd love to see and hear stories from back in the 1940s to 60s when Santa Ana was where the celebrities from LA came to retreat and get away from this, their fans and have, some less notoriety. But today we're referred to as the downtown of Orange County. It's the governmental hub, financial and cultural center of Orange County. And it's the second most populated city in the county.
Wow.
Wow. And many logos for Santa Ana too. I love some of these. You have very clever artists out there.
Yeah. So our logos are Travel Santa Ana's signatures. So when we were a little background, Travel Santa Ana up until 2021 had no tourism promotion. And so I was the first employee hired to run Travel Santa Ana, the destination marketing organization. And we had to not only build a destination marketing organization, but we had to brand a destination. And so our city is very arts and culture, very rich with artists. And we recognized that a corporate logo that was created by an agency wasn't going to resonate. So we commissioned the work of 5 local artists to create individual signatures that are reflective of how they feel about the city they call home.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we interchange them. I have my favorite on my business card. My staff have their favorites on their business card, and then we use them collectively. We have a Travel Santa Ana version and a Santa Ana version. The story's on our website. Thank you.
What can people do in Santa Ana as far as spectator or participation sports?
Well, our location is convenient for those wishing to take in a Major League Baseball game at Anaheim Stadium. And then we also have National Hockey League at Honda Center. And then there's the Orange County Soccer Club, not too far from us if those who want to catch a match. Our sports facilities really host youth games and tournaments, but our parks offer hiking trails, tennis courts, an archery range, exercise equipment, and pools. And we do have 2 golf courses for those who enjoy that activity, but we are home to American Ninja Warrior Adventure Park, which was inspired by the popular TV show. So visitors can experience the monkey swings, the spider walls, the tilting logs, and more obstacles.
Wow.
Wendy, are new hotel rooms going up, and can visitors find accommodations of every price and description?
We have 2 hotels that are really in the early planning stages. We know the location, but they haven't even started development yet. A couple of our hotels are going through rebranding right now and renovations, and the majority of our hotels have already been renovated within, I would say, the last 3 years. But yeah, our hotels include Marriott, Hilton, and Holiday brands, along with some select service type properties like La Quinta, and motels, including Motel 6. Being a lesser known destination has its advantages. Our hotel rates tend to be much more affordable than those in Anaheim and the beach cities.
When I think of California, I think of palm trees and beaches. Does Santa Ana have its share?
Well, of course, palm trees are everywhere in Southern California. You know that they're not indicative to the state, right? They were brought in, yeah. So, and Santa Ana is no exception. While not exclusive to our city, we are fortunate to have wild green parrots that fill those palm trees. It's quite a sight at dawn and dusk every day. The air is filled with their squawks, and there's several of our murals that feature them throughout the city. We are not a beach city. However, we are a short drive to Newport and Huntington Beach.
Do the parrots talk?
They squawk.
Okay. I have a friend here in New Jersey. I have a friend here in New Jersey whose neighbor had a parrot that talked, and it learned how to answer. It learned how to imitate the sound of the telephone. So every once in a while, it would.
That's funny.
The phone. They'd answer the phone. Nobody was there because it was the parrot.
Yeah, these are wild, and we have them where I live in Long Beach, which is in LA County, and in Santa Ana is one of the Orange County cities that really has them. There's no one story about how they originated and became part of the environment here. Some people, I mean, if you ask one person, it was a rich person who let parrots go decades ago. It's a truck that overturned that was carrying them. Who knows? But yeah, there's 2 different kinds, the green parrots and then there's the redhead parrots. But I have not heard any of them asking for a cracker.
Well, my friend, when we were talking about the parrot, he said it's a good thing the parrot isn't around when you watch baseball because you curse at the TV. When conditioning vacation spots, Wendy, viewers want to know what's new, what's different, and what's unusual. What would you tell them about Santa Ana?
Santa Ana is just a vibrant, diverse urban destination. We offer arts and culture that, while some of the other cities in Orange County also have arts and culture, ours complement Laguna Beach and Costa Mesa. Our arts and culture focuses on artists of color and LGBT artists. We have some unique attractions like the Santa Ana Zoo, the Discovery Cube Science Museum, the American Ninja Warrior Adventure Park. We have public art. We have over 200 murals throughout our city, and that is constantly like an art gallery being added to. We're one of the few cities in Orange County that really has a nightlife with a lot of our bars and restaurants featuring live music and entertainment. And then we have a plethora of dining options.
I love that word. Good Scrabble word, too. 7 letters. Okay. Is there anything to add, Wendy? Anything you'd like to add? And also, we need your website.
Well, that is www.travelsantaana.com. And you can request a digital visitor's guide, or we do print and we can mail one to you. And we are also on social media. So if you want to get a sense of the destination, visit us on Instagram, Facebook, and we have some destination videos on YouTube as well. I think for me, Santa Ana is just really unique in comparison to other cities in Orange County. So if you have already been to Anaheim a dozen times, I really encourage you to experience Santa Ana.
And I love that purple car.
Yeah,
There you go.
I actually know the owner of that car.
Okay. Anyway, I want to thank all of our guests on the Travel Itch 600th anniversary special. That means Sue Presby of the Mount Washington Cog Railway, travel journalist and author Nick Contis, Wendy Hussey Roberts of Santa Ana, and Jay Smith of Sports Travel and Tours, all good friends with good credentials and very good programs. So thank you all.
Thanks,
Really
Dan.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan. Congratulations on your milestone.
Dan,
Thank you.
thanks so
Great
much,
seeing you
Dan.
all.
600 more.
Yeah, hopefully. And that's it for the 600th anniversary special. Join us again next week at our regular time, 5 o'clock Eastern, for another great show as our 14th season continues. So this is Dan Schlossberg speaking also for the absent Roger Noriega, saying good night and stay safe. And I'm going to try to find my closing music, which is way down here on the bottom, but I got it.